Well, that probably goes all the way back because I think therapists are made. I don't think they're chosen. And I probably became a therapist because I just have this insatiable curiosity. It seems like I'm interested in everything. And that's something that really helps a lot when you're doing therapy, to have that feeling that you want to know more and more about something. When I was interviewed for my clinical PsyD program, one of the questions was similar, like, why did you want to become a therapist? And I said, because I want to know the truth. And they said, shouldn't you be going into philosophy? And I said, no, because the truth I want to know about is, what makes human beings tick? What are we all about? I am so thrilled to be asked this question because I'm actually working on a book for therapists about how to do therapy with adult children of emotionally immature parents. So I've actually thought about this a lot. And in fact, my editor commented, Lindsay, you've already spent 4 chapters on the therapeutic stance. I think we need to get into the practical end of things. It's always my downfall theory. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying also to get these new therapists into a mindset that reflects that ability to see someone as psychologically real, to really honor their inner world, like their thoughts, their feelings, their way of looking at life. And of course, all that's based on their life narrative, how they, to this point, have come to understand what happened to them and what their role is in their own life. So when I'm trying to convey to them what's most important, it's always about the stance they have vis-a-vis the client. And I stress that because it's got to be the opposite of what the emotionally immature parent does. The emotionally immature parent does not really recognize them as a separate individual person with their own thoughts and feelings and needs. They just don't think about it. They think they're thinking about it, but they're really not conceptualizing and feeling that person as meaning their child, as a real person with a real life inside of them. And so I try to make sure that therapists get that idea, first of all, that they're going to be a kind of a stand-in for this more distant and emotionally unconnected parent. And if you can do that, everything that you do on the basis of that is teaching this client what it feels like to be really attended to and really have someone be interested in what's going on inside them. Well, if it was left up to me, I would do coffee all day long because I'm chasing that hit that I get in the morning with my first cup of coffee. But I became painfully aware that actually I get very jittery after the first cup, and it really is no fun after that. So I do that great Java jolt first thing in the morning, and then I switch over to decaf tea. Let's see. I think I have two. My favorite therapy book would be let me look on my bookshelf and make sure I've got the title right. Yeah. The The Transforming Power of Affect by Diana Fosha. That is a complete book. I can't even read it anymore. I've got so many underlinings and sticky notes and stuff. It's just a complete mess. But that book has been just thoroughly digested. My other favorite book is not a therapy book per se, but it has really recalibrated my approach to therapy and to life. It's called The Master and His Emissary by Ian McGilchrist. And that's it's a sort of a psychological kind of a cultural approach to the right and left hemisphere brain studies and what each of them does in terms of how we experience the world. And what I was talking about earlier with the sort of technique over presence, he talks about that as coming from using more of one hemisphere than the other. And so that revolutionized my way of understanding what I was doing with therapy, as well as giving me insight into kind of what may be going wrong in the culture and why people are so, feeling so beset with meaninglessness and, lack of connection. So those two books are really my two favorites. Well, my favorite hobby would really be art. I started out in college as a studio art major, so I love to draw, I love to paint, but I don't have time to get set up and move in and out of that now with all the stuff that I'm doing. So my favorite hobby is complex needlepoint. Oh, that's hard. I would have said, I would say like 20 years ago, I would have said cats because I love kittens. I love cats. I had them growing up. Yeah. But then Ernie came along, which was my little miniature poodle. And I call him my guru, my spiritual master, because Ernie taught me more about love and devotion and just presence than many people I know. So thanks to Ernie, I would have to say dogs. I would say I'm more of an early bird now. And that's just because we live at the ocean front, and when the sun comes up, you get up because the sun is right there on the east. So I would probably prefer to be a night owl if I could afford it the next morning, but I would say I'm an early bird. I think that is going to be an explosion of emotional and existential and experiential therapies. I think it's already going that way, but I think it's still pretty fragmented. Um, Underneath that, you of course would have things like, attachment therapies, emotionally focused therapies. Parts work is very emotional, very experiential. Coherence therapy by Bruce Ecker and Lauren Hulley is a beautiful system based on that too. So I think we're going to, and I think this is going to be consumer driven, okay? Because the people that people want to send their child to, their sister to, their spouse to, the person they want to go see is going to be, like you mentioned, a person with a heartbeat, a person who can connect, a person who is interested and fascinated by the client's experience and their emotions. And so I think the next big thing is going to go toward that emotional, experiential, existential quadrant. And I'm hoping that there will be an integration. That's what I'm trying to achieve in my therapy book, that there will be an integration of all these methods that gets at helping people to live a more vital, alive life from their true self, from who they really, feel themselves to be. And so I think what's going to happen is that there's going to be more and more movement this way. You can already see it with the emphasis on trauma work. There have been such great developments with experience, especially experiential and emotional therapies in trauma. Trauma has really kind of gotten a science behind it. And basically, the science is saying we need the caring heart of another person to be with us and teach us how to re-embody ourselves in order to calm down from the effects of trauma. So I think trauma is going to be or has been the trailblazer for an orientation toward therapy that's going to be much more humanistic, much deeper. And I think that we're going to see it happen because I think the consumer is going to demand it. Uh, they're going to get tired of being shuffled off to get medications, or they're going to get tired of, too much emphasis on the cognitive, and they're going to want to find people that can be deep enough to make them feel like they're really growing. I think the toughest clients that I've treated have been ones that really could not emotionally keep themselves regulated, or they were acting out as a result of that. A couple of suicidal patients come to mind immediately. A couple of clients that were really acting out. Yeah, because you feel so helpless. At least I did. I didn't feel like I knew exactly what to do. I always got consultations, for that reason. But it's very hard when somebody doesn't have enough of a consolidated self that you feel like you've, kind of got them in your hand, like you've got that connection, you've got that attachment, you can go through it with them. When you don't have that because somebody is emotionally immature to the point where they don't have a really adequate sense of self, that to me is very scary because you're in a position where y- you are effectively functioning as that person's ability to cope. And that was always for me a huge challenge, which, I just met by being a decent human being. But I never liked it. I never felt comfortable with it. I don't know if there are therapists who do, but I do know that it was, for me, it was the wrong fit because I tend to be a very emotionally sensitive person who's very interested in ideas, very interested in insight, that kind of thing. And these were people who were trying basically to survive. So I finally discovered that this was a mismatch for my energies, and that these weren't people that I could really I probably helped them, like I say, by being a decent human being, but it was so hard on me that I ultimately began to screen my clients for people that I thought I could help with the methods that were most comfortable for me. And by doing that, I kept my interest going in the field and, managed it so that I wasn't getting burned out. I read deep books. I like philosophy. I like physics. And then these are all, let me hasten to add, these are all layman's versions of those subjects, believe me. But when I am reading something kind of outside of psychology, spirituality is another big one, and it's coming at life from a different perspective. It's taking me out of my psychology mind, and it's saying, there's something bigger and grander about the way life works, and we can speculate about this idea about that. And to me, that's like catnip. I mean, that kind of reading feeds me intellectually and emotionally, and that really, kind of fills my tanks so that when I go back into the therapy hour, I'm really on a different wavelength. I'm really ready to get in there with them because I've had this kind of rejuvenation of ideas and a sense that I got closer to some ultimate truth in my reading, and I'm able to bring that spirit of investigation and excitement back into the therapy hour. I would say that they don't know how much of an introvert I really am. For some reason, public speaking, teaching, interviews, podcasts, whatever, releases something in me that I think comes across as quite extroverted, and, comfortable being, on screen, that kind of thing. At least I hope so. But yeah, ultimately, for me, at times, COVID felt like a vacation because I could just sit in my chair and read and take walks. And also, I am really lucky to be married to a wonderful, wonderful person. So when you have, one very close relationship like that and a few good friends, it really encourages the introvert in me to come out because I have all my emotional needs so well supplied by this great group and a great small group. And then the rest of the time, I love to read and draw and, do stuff that's introverted.